I'd like to open the regular meeting of the Ascension Parish Council, Thursday, April 16th. Our invocation tonight will be led by Chief James LeBlanc, Santa Monica Fire Department.
Gracious Heavenly Father, in your sight nations rise and fall and pass through times of peril. Now when our land is troubled, be near to judge and save. May leaders be led by your wisdom. May they search your will and see it clearly. I ask you to bless our parish president and give him wisdom. Also, I ask that you bless our parish council, administration staff, and our great parish of Ascension. If we have turned from your way, help us to reverse our ways and repent. May our fellowship be pleasing to you this evening as we gather together to make decisions for the future of our children. Lord, hold our troops in your loving hands. Protect them. Bless them and their families. I ask this in the name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. Our pledge tonight will be led by Ascension Parish School Superintendent, Mr. Donald Sanjay.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I start tonight, Ms. Suzanne, roll call. I'd like everyone to just take a few moments to a prayer for Mr. Vic Malonzo, husband of Mayor Brenda Malonzo of Sorrento, who passed away yesterday. Thank you. Ms. Suzanne, roll call. Councilman Oliver Joseph, Councilman Thompson are working tonight. Don't have any chair additions, public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on any item on the agenda, please sign in with Ms. Suzanne. You'll be allotted 3 minutes. We get to our presentation part of the agenda. I have first the Donaldsonville, Louisiana Marine Institute open house, Ms. Tamiko Garrison.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tamiko Garrison. I am the acting executive director for Donaldsonville, Louisiana Marine Institute. First, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak on the agenda today, or putting me on the agenda. I'm here to invite the council and the residents of Ascension Parish to our open house. Donaldsonville, Louisiana Marine Institute is a juvenile day treatment program for adjudicated youth in Ascension, Assumption, and St. James parishes. We have children from the ages of 12 to 17. We provide education, treatment, and behavior modification for the students. Our open house is going to be Thursday, April 23rd, next Thursday, from 1 to 3 at the Old West Ascension building, which is where we're housed, 1200 St. Patrick Street in Donaldsonville. Again, it's from 1 to 3. And we're going to have food, a band, and you'll have an opportunity to meet some of the youth in our program that are benefiting from our program. We are contracted with the Office of Juvenile Justice. So,
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for Mrs. Garrison?
Well, thank you very
President
much.
Martinez.
Oh, yes.
I don't have any questions, just comments. I had the opportunity to visit the facility on Veterans Day last year. Let me just say, it's something that, you know, you look at these young kids that strayed off in the wrong path, and brings discipline to them. It was a great experience for me to be there and part of that celebration, and I think if any of you get the opportunity to go, that you should attend this. And Tamika, good job. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Also, each of you have a packet with the invitation and more information about our programs. We have 9 in the state of Louisiana. 1 is residential, and the other 8 are non-residential, and the one in Donaldsonville is non-residential. So thank you very much, and if you can RSVP, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Councilman, we will pass on B. Item C, Chief LeBlanc, please come forward. Chief, we're going to honor you and your men and women tonight for the efforts in our recent tornadoes in the Santa Monica area. And once again, you know my feelings about our Ascension Parish heroes. We want to thank y'all from the bottom of our heart. I know you men and women stayed out all night the night of the storm. Heck, when I got out there, y'all were covering the roofs. Y'all had tarps going. You had food tables set up. Y'all just, your usual job. Leave your families to make us safe. Now we thank you very, very much. Chief, President Martinez.
Definitely want to thank the council. This is a great honor. I mean, 23 years I've been a fire chief, and this is one of my greatest honors to be able to come before the council and get recognized for something that we do every day. Can't thank y'all enough. You know, March 27th, the storm decided to lay its little pretty head in the Santa Maria area, but rest assured that if that storm would have raised its head anywhere in Ascension Parish, whether it would have been in the Galvez community, the Sorrento community, Gonzales community, rest assured that you got in Ascension Parish the best volunteer firefighters that you could ever ask for. And I thank y'all, and I thank this community, and we just very, very fortunate in Ascension Parish to have the volunteer firemen that we got. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, and ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to, there's another person I want to thank y'all tonight too. When you leave here, go to Kamal's restaurant. He will be feeding you. Okay?
Thank you so much. We know that Mr. Kamal, his grandmother was 95 and a half years old. Let's don't forget that half. And she took a good little ride that night in her trailer, and we appreciate her making it through the storm, and I appreciate our local vendors, along with Mr. Kamal, for recognizing the volunteer firemen in this parish.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And James, I want to thank all of you. I was out there not quite as early as y'all, and Rick Weber with OEP and the Sheriff's Department, all the first responders that got out there, y'all did an excellent job and stayed throughout the day. And if you go look at that community today, you could hardly tell there was a tornado that came through there. All the neighbors worked hard together, 50, 60 people at each house, along with the volunteers from the fire department. So it just goes to show you that Ascension Parish is a great community to live in, and neighbors help neighbors, and that's what it's all about.
Along that note, Mr. President and the council, it should be noted that the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office did save that lady on Weber City Road, and we're fortunate that she was able to be in the only room that didn't get destroyed. And while I was pulling up on scene, one of the first people to pull up on scene, your OEP director, Mr. Rick Weber, was also on scene. And they stayed with us the whole 20-something hours that we was out there carving people's roofs. So hats off to the OEP. Great job.
Thank you, James. And I'll read this, James. They all are pretty much the same. I'll call their names. Certificate of recognition. This certificate is hereby awarded to James LeBlanc and the Santa Maria Fire Department. Ascension Parish is proud to present this certificate of recognition for your selfless dedication to safety and well-being of the residents you serve, including assisting during the recent tornado activity that struck the Santa Maria area on March 26, 2009. Congratulations on behalf of myself and the council. Keep your good work up, as I know you will. Thank you, James.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you come up. Wendy Molat, Amy Bersaget
From Malpaw.
from Malpaw. Okay. Sean Bersaget
From Malpaw.
John Gotro.
John Gotro.
John. Yeah. Okay. Jerry Copeland.
Jerry Copeland.
Okay. Reagan Andre.
Get to the ones that are.
Joshua Moran. No, he's the Okay. Christine Jenkins.
He's working. Christian.
Rick LeBlanc.
He's working.
Molly Mollab. E.J. Gedrick. All right. He also works for the Parish.
And I think he was the first one on one.
Bubba Richard.
Bubba.
Danny LeBlanc. Dexter LeBlanc. Got them all working. Kim Hale,
Kim's here.
Junior Hale,
Junior's here.
Brandon Greer, Christina Brescinger, Justin Paul, Scott Colon,
Co-out.
Colon,
He's not here.
Mike Strockman,
He's not here.
Jerry Gotro,
Jerry's here.
Mike Bro,
He's here.
Derek LeBlanc,
He's working.
Darren Gotro.
He got work. Good job, Darren. Good job.
Josh Wingard, John Hale, Troy Richardson,
He's not here. Works for the Parish.
another parish worker, Troy Mollett,
Another school board.
Nick Bro, Jeremy Dewey, last but not least, Eugene Weekett.
Also, we want to recognize Mr. Charles Abear, fire board member. You can come on up too.
Okay, well, we'll probably just try and take one picture, and then if you want to, the councilman want to take a picture with you, with the fireman in the district, you can do that too.
Can we get the OEP director in the picture?
That'd be good.
He worked hard.
While Rick's coming up, I'd like to really say thanks to Rick Weber, Marion Miles, and Miss Crystal Moran for their efforts during this storm. We thank you, Rick.
Over there, we
Want to move over back?
can, yeah, kind of fan them out a little bit. And we can get the councilman in the back to move in.
I gotta make sure I'm behind Bubba.
Can you get some of you on this side?
Gotta get by the short.
Oh, yeah. Cardio, man. Gotta do some hard work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gene, you're supposed to go in there. If you don't mind, I can take a picture. Well, that is questionable, I promise. That is very questionable. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm getting her right. You have to turn sideways. I know.
Squeeze in, guys.
I'm gonna keep going back with you. All right. All right, take another one. Okay, and if we,
That's a good looking.
okay, just press and shoot, right? Oh, this is a good camera. Right?
You can't afford it.
Good. They can. All right. Let me get another one.
Thank y'all.
Hey, did any of the councilmen take pictures with some of the firemen in your district? Gene, I hope they came out all right.
James,
Evidently not.
come on. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care, Mike.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hebert, please.
You know, they say if you have something to get done, give it to a busy man. But I don't know how much more you can ask James LeBlanc to do. And from a member of the Sanamo community, I am really proud and appreciative of the group that protects us. And not only Sanamo, they protect the whole parish. But you kind of brag a little bit more on those hometown folks, you know.
That's right.
We appreciate it also, Mr. Hebert and Chief. Thank you. Thank you again. All right, item 6, we'll move into our parish president's report. President Martinez.
Yes, I think the Drainage Board had adopted a resolution to consider Ascension Parish for coastal zone designation, and I'm going to ask the council to do the same. And basically, what it says is, whereas the parish of Ascension is confronted with coastal zone issues such as erosion, mitigation, flooding, and floodplain management, whereas the parish of Ascension is interested in being included in the state coastal zone, whereas this designation will provide the parish with much needed resources and assist the parish in providing necessary protection to the citizens of Ascension Parish. Therefore, be it resolved that the Ascension Parish Council, acting in lawful session, hereby strongly supports Representative Eddie Lambert's proposed legislation to include the parish in the state's coastal zone designation.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Councilman Randy Kluwer, second by Kent Shakespeare. Any discussion? Any objection? Resolution carries. Passes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also want to remind everyone about the Ascension Parish Household Hazardous Materials Collection Day, Saturday, April 18th, 2009, from 8 o'clock to 12 noon at the Ascension Parish Civic Center in Sorrento. You can drop off automobile tires, a limit of 5, car and golf batteries, cell phones and batteries, electronic equipment, fluorescent bulbs, gasoline, oil, antifreeze, home and garden chemicals, household batteries, ink and toner cartridges, latex and oil-based paints, thinners, varnishes, scrap metals, small quantities, rechargeable batteries, propane tanks, and television. So anybody listening, Saturday is a good opportunity to clean out your garage and do some spring cleaning and get rid of some of those hazardous materials. So please make every effort to attend. And any councilman that want to volunteer, we need some volunteers there. The only other thing I have is Councilman Shex and I and a couple councilmen went out to River Ridge subdivision for subdivision meeting recently, and just wanted to say that some of those people in that area, that's the subdivision next to Pelican Point across the road by the lake, had some grave concerns, and I'll let, if you don't mind, I'll let Councilman Sheck.
Councilman Shakespeare, please.
Yeah. Well, it was one of the things, and I appreciate Councilman Pat Bell came with us. They had a homeowners association meeting, and it was just something that may begin to happen in the parish, and I think we need to all be aware of it. As you have subdivisions, there are standards that they come out, and they sell their lots and their homes, and this particular subdivision, according to the residences that have been there, they were upset because they were being sold lots, and the houses were projected to be in a mid-range, and I'm not going to say the amount, but that they were sold at, and these people spent their hard-earned money to expect to live in a community that the houses were being sold at what it was being sold at, what they were advertising. About halfway through the development now, the developers are going down almost $100,000 on their lots, which is going to be a conflict. The people that bought in good faith will probably have a reduction on the value of their lots. Although it is not against subdivision regulations to do that, it's not against the law, I believe in good faith, we would like to see the developers uphold their bargain when they sell something, that they continue to do that. And I think it's very important and ethically, when you come into Ascension Parish, we want to be able to guarantee our residents is that what they buy into at the beginning, they can expect at the end of the development. So, we wish to let everybody know on all the different developments, be careful with your development codes within the subdivision and try to put some civil restrictions on that so everybody knows what they're buying into. And we hope that the developers do the right thing. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Anything else President Martin has? Okay, sir. We'll move to our consent agenda. Item 7. We will take out number 10, the generator section. We'll consent agenda. I need a motion for A through E and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11, and F.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Lohr, second by Councilman Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Ms. Jones, would you come up, please, and tell us a little bit about item 10?
I'll let Rick start first.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, we did the initial assessment on the Public Works building on Church Point Road, and during that assessment, it was determined that it would require 130 kilowatts of power to run all systems in that building for 72 hours. Once I contacted the vendor for clarification after we selected the bid, when I looked into the specifications, we realized that the bid was, the capacity of the generator was 100 kilowatts, which was 30 below the target. And I recommended to Ms. Jones that it would be a disqualifying factor for that one vendor.
All right, sir. Do you have an alternate bid, Ms. Jones?
The difference between this vendor and the next qualified bidder was about $150.
Right. And by law, we go to the next highest bid. I see.
We had 6 bidders on this particular project. So we were able to, this is the third low bid that we're going to ask for your approval.
Okay, ma'am, could you read it out, please?
On March 25th, 2009, the purchasing department received 6 bids for 4 generators. The bids were received from Total Energy Solutions, Blunt Electrical, TMC Contractors, Gonzalez Electric, RGS, and ARCO. After reviewing the manufacturer's specification, the proposed generators were determined to be in non-compliance of the advertised specification. The Purchasing Department and Office of Homeland Security recommend accepting the lowest qualifying bid, no listed exceptions, from TMC Contractors Incorporated.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Kluart, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion?
Yes, I have.
Councilman Kluart.
Yeah, real quick, I just want, I know I've talked to you guys about it. It's basically that you had a mandatory pre-bid meeting, that everybody that bid on it knew exactly what they had to bid on.
That's
right?
correct. On the 130 kW generator.
All the participants that came to the mandatory pre-bid meeting were allowed to put in a bid. Thank you, ma'am. That's all I want to clarify for the public.
Any more discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Ms. Shivers. We'll move into the general business section. Item 8, consideration of a contract for the Council on Aging building. Mr. Cedric Grant.
Yes, sir. At the last council meeting, Councilman Lambert asked me to come with the recommendations on what we were going to do to move forward on the Council on Aging building. What I will tell you is that a couple of things. We have done a more remediation analysis. We have done we've completed some roof repairs and some minor adjustments to that before final acceptance. But based on the remediation analysis that we've now conducted, the expected fee for the restoration of the Council on Aging building is about $250,000. It's about $100,000 of insurance proceeds. The rest of it we're applying for FEMA reimbursement for. In order to do that, we now have to bid those improvements. And what you have before you is a draft contract that I've negotiated with Perez Architects for a fee of $46,000, which includes part of this initial assessment that I needed to determine the fee. And so I proposed that we contract with Perez Architects for this. They have extensive experience in the New Orleans area in this kind of mold remediation that we basically have to take the walls out and restore the building. The contract's for $46,000.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Kent Shakespeare, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried.
Just a
Okay,
quick thanks.
Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Cedric, for getting on this quick. You know, a lot of things over there in pods and different things, and we need this as soon as possible, man.
And they've agreed to expedite their design.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9, consideration of RFP for intergovernmental services. Mr. Grant?
Yes, sir. We have come into a very bad situation at a bad time. Our lobbyist, our intergovernmental service representative in Washington is now in Iraq. And we are no longer represented at the current time at what I think to be a fairly critical time in Washington. The water bill is up for consideration, and so there are therefore opportunities in drainage and water projects. There's reauthorization of transportation that is coming up, as well as stimulus and other funding. So what I'm asking is for the ability to go out for an RFP.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Randy Cluett, second by Councilman Kent Shakespeare. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 10, consideration of financial approval process. Mr. Grant.
This is the item that was brought to you at the Finance Committee agenda. It is a method to improve our efficiency in handling financial processes of the council and our ability to take care of all of our processes, not only contracting, but appropriations and the like. It's been before in finance twice now, and we recommend approval.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Kent Shakespeare, second by Councilman Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Any objection?
Object. Mr. Chairman.
Roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilman Cluett.
Yes.
Councilman Cullen.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
No.
Councilman Lohr.
Yes.
Councilman Shakespeare.
Yes.
Councilman Valentine.
No. Thank you, ma'am. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Our plan and zoning recommendation, Mr. Ricky Compton.
Historical site overlays to encourage and ensure the preservation of historic sites in Ascension Parish by ensuring that surrounding development is compatible and does not pose an adverse effect on the historic site. To accept or deny, the Zoning Commission recommended approval of this item.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Councilman Chris Lohr,
Second.
second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Councilman Lohr.
Ricky, there was some discussion about, some concern, I should say, about the number of bus spaces required. Is there something?
No, there's not.
No.
Yeah, what I would recommend that we do is on item C. I guess it's C1C D, C1C 2D, where it says a minimum 1 bus parking space per gross acre of the historical site shall also be included in the overall parking requirements. I think that the thought was that it should be the gross building area. So I think what we should do is just change that to a minimum of 1 bus parking space shall be provided and a maximum of 3. Just cap it at 3 buses.
Offer that as an amended motion.
Yeah, we don't want to nail it down at 1.
Right.
I'll second that amended motion.
Who had the amended, or Councilman Kent Shakespeare, motion, second by Councilman Randy Cluett. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries as amended.
Item 12, cross-connection of commercial parcels to amend and supplement the Ascension Parish Development Code, Section 17-202D, entitled Off-Street Parking Standards, to accept or deny. The Zoning Commission recommended approval of this item.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Kent Shakespeare, second by Councilman Randy Cluett. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have some discussion.
Councilman Cluett.
Yeah, basically on the future growth, you know, when people putting in commercial sites, that we want to, it's going to be studied just like your zoning commission studies right now. It would have to have the participation of possible commercial site that's already there to connect them.
Right. The thought, generally speaking, is if there's a site and you have vacant commercial land next to it, we want you to provide that connection in case that site gets developed. We don't have the intent of going in and forcing existing commercial.
No, I'm not talking about existing. I'm saying a new site versus next to an old site, that there would have to be something worked out with the prior.
Well, once again, I don't think that if there's an old site there,
okay,
we're not going to go in and say you've got to
deal.
connect. It's
Thank you.
primarily for vacant land. If the old site has provided a connection, we're going to make that new site connect.
Right.
And then the other question that came up during the commission is, what about those commercial sites that don't necessarily need to connect? And we said, we'll just handle that like we handle all variances. The staff will support a variance from the cross connection, go to the Board of Adjustments, for a used car or a car lot or a self-storage facility that you don't necessarily need to cross connect to those commercial sites. The staff will support those types of variances.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any more discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Ms. Manda? Lindsay? Ms.
Yes.
Manda, you want to do the ordinances?
Sure.
Okay. Item 13.
Introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to mixed-use, zoning review ID 1977.08, Tract A2A2 of the industrial material concrete property from Marion Cove Enterprise, LLC, located on the west side of Airline Highway, approximately 1,900 feet south of Perkins Road. The Zoning Commission has recommended approval of this item.
Motion introduced.
Motion introduced by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Randy Cluard. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance is introduced. Number 14, please.
Introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to small planned unit development, zoning review ID 1976.08, located on the west side of LA Highway 44, approximately 1,700 feet north of Germany Road. The Zoning Commission recommended approval of this item.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Randy Cluard. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance introduced. Read item 15. I will have 3 speakers on 15, please.
Introduction of an ordinance to amend Article 4, Section 297 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances to provide additional rules concerning the public comment period in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 42.5.
My first speaker will be Ms. Cheryl Fontenot, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Cheryl Fontenot, a citizen of this great parish and a watchman for our children's future. I need some help getting this, it's not giving me enough space here. Thank you. Yes. Once again, I came to make our citizens aware of actions you are making to limit the people's involvement in our government. All across this nation, people are becoming aware of the tactics being used by our elected officials to serve themselves rather than the people. Rallies called Tea Parties were held yesterday all over our nation to send a message to elected officials at every level of government that the people have had enough of irresponsible use of our money, and citizens want their voices heard. I attended along with approximately 3,000 who gathered in Baton Rouge. At a time when citizens are wanting more voice in their government, this council is proposing changes that will affect the people's right to make public comments. It is clear that those promoting these changes desire to interrupt the speaker or forbid some to speak at all. The way item C is written indicates to me that only 5 people will be allowed to speak on an agenda item. Item D gives you authority to censor a person if their speech is not to your liking. Is it your intention that some of us would quit, grow weary, and go away? Citizens are watching and organizing. If you are doing right, you will welcome the watchful eye of citizens. These changes compel me to ask this question. What are you trying to hide? Why are you trying to silence the people? Good evening, gentlemen.
Ms. Teresa Robert, please.
Good evening. In a time and a day when apathy is so prevalent in our society, when what is required most is the engagement of citizens in their government and a sense of duty toward civic responsibilities, it makes no sense to discourage and stifle citizens who are trying to hold elected officials accountable. Gentlemen, the proposed changes before you tonight regarding the public comment period will not promote good government or encourage civic responsibility. In fact, it'll do the exact opposite. Our freedom of speech is important. We citizens need to call or contact our councilmen. And if we don't know who our councilmen are, we can leave a message for you with the council secretary. History has shown that our freedoms came at great cost and sacrifice. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is our right and our responsibility to ensure that the freedoms we all enjoy today are secured for future generations. Thank you.
Ms. Catherine Goppett.
Good evening, gentlemen. Citizens should be aware that the proposed amendments being introduced tonight will give elected officials an avenue to suppress the truth and silence public speakers. Louisiana state law and revised statute 42.5 provides an opportunity for the public to make comment on any agenda item. Present council procedures require the speaker to sign a card, state the agenda item, and hand in the card no later than 2 minutes after the public comment period is announced. You are then allowed 3 minutes to speak. The proposed amendments to council procedure will allow the chairman to stop a speaker at any time during these 3 minutes if the chairman believes comments are defamatory or accusatory. The speaker will be denied any opportunity to speak for the rest of that meeting as well. In order for a statement to be defamatory, it must be both false and spoken maliciously. That is, to speak with a spirit of revenge and intent to injure the reputation of others. Accusatory is charging another with a crime, offense, wrongdoing, or injustice. If any other council member disagrees with the chairman's decision, he may challenge it, state the reason for doing so, and request a roll call vote. The chairman's decision may only be overruled by a 2/3 vote of the members present. As a public speaker, I take time to review public documents prior to making any comments and come with a prepared statement. I am careful to present the facts from the documentation I have access to. The issues can sometimes be controversial, but I do make every effort to be gracious. Do those promoting these changes want the public to know the facts about the way they do business and how they make decisions? After reviewing the proposed changes and my personal experience with this council, the answer is no. These proposed amendments will be used by our elected officials to censure citizens, stop public comment, and ultimately control what the people see and hear. Today it may be me they shut down. Tomorrow it will be another citizen. These are political games being played to manipulate and control public opinion. The final decision will not be made until a public hearing is held at least 2 weeks from tonight. If citizens do not speak up by calling their councilman or attending the public hearing, our right to free speech at council meetings and subcommittee meetings during the public comment period will be in jeopardy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman.
Move to introduce ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Kent Shakespeare, second by Councilman Dennis Cullen. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yeah, guys, this 3-minute speaking come about back in the, I guess, late 90s. I was one of the ones that brought it up because sitting up here and you got a full audience out there and you see them all raising their hand and no one can address them. I feel the people in the audience, they're going to make a point to come to this meeting. They should have the right to speak at least 3 minutes on an item. We shouldn't have to go through a 2/3 if the chairman doesn't want it. I think it needs to stay like it is. I sat up here too many times with audience, our public people, our citizens, our voters, you know, wanting to speak on agenda item, which I wanted to hear their comments. Couldn't make a decision on my vote. We couldn't get them up here. And I was the one that pushed for putting 3 minutes on this for the public to speak, because you know, I'm whole for it, and I'm gonna stick with it. I think we need to stay with the 3 minutes like is. And I don't think it's been just, you know, it's worked. I don't see any problem with it. I don't know why all of a sudden it's a change. This came to us, I didn't know anything about it till I read it in the paper this week. That's the first I heard about it, when it came into the paper. No one communicated with me that this was even gonna come here till I seen it in the paper. So I'm very disappointed in that, and I'm sticking with my guns. I think the public needs to speak.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Kluart.
Yes, Councilman Bell and fellow council members. Also, what I think the 3 minutes is good for speaking. Somebody can get their point across. But I believe in free speech, and I would like to offer amendment to take the time limit off to 15 minutes. That if somebody travels up here that they want to speak for 3 minutes, they get their 3 minutes of voice. It's not too many levels higher than us that people really don't get any voice, and I just believe that. So
I have a motion by Councilman Kluart. Amended motion.
I'll second.
Wait.
Second by Councilman Chris Lower. Any discussion?
Well, hold up.
Yes.
Point of order. We are introducing an ordinance.
Yes.
This is the purpose of the introduction of an ordinance is to put the ordinance out there, and people have 2 weeks to call, discuss, talk about what we would like to do on the final thing. I have my own opinions about it and everything, and I think we can share it through these 2 weeks. This is an introduction this week. In 2 weeks, it will be voted on. All the amendments and everything will come out.
I'll pull it if it was a form of a motion, but I just want to end on the fact that I do think that, you know, there's some subjects. I want to address also the full body of this text, is the fact that only sitting here a little bit over a year, I've heard some good people come forward with some good things. I've heard people come forward to the podium and ask us as a body to please do what's morally right. You know, to the point of even let God guide you. Keep politics out of your decisions. When some of the people that I know for a fact that have came to the podium had a political agenda fixed, ready, probably as well oiled as I was for the meeting that I was at. But I still don't discourage that. I don't discourage that. Please come forward. I believe that people should be able to speak. Thank
All right,
you.
Councilman, we have a first, a second. We're in discussion. Anyone else? Any objection? Ordinance introduced. 16, Ms. Manna, please.
Introduction of an ordinance to authorize the Parish of Ascension through the Office of Technology to assess and collect fees associated with the request for GIS data, maps, and other related items.
Motion introduced.
Motion by Councilman Randy Kluart, second by Councilman Kent Shakespeare. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance introduced. 17, please, ma'am.
Introduction of an ordinance establishing a Bureau of Administrative Adjudication for public health, housing, fire code, environmental, and historic district violations.
Motion to introduce.
Motion by Councilman Chris Lower, second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance introduced. 18, please.
Introduction of an ordinance to establish a sales tax enhancement plan for the sharing of sales tax revenue generated on annexed property.
Motion by Councilman Benny Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance introduced. 19, please.
Introduction of an ordinance setting the franchise fee to be paid by those entities providing cable or video service within the parish's unincorporated limits under state-granted franchise authority and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So moved.
Councilman Kent Schexnayder makes a motion. Second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance introduced. Number 20, please, ma'am.
Introduction of an ordinance amending the 2009 budget.
Motion to introduce.
Councilman Chris Lord makes a motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance introduced. Before we get to item 21 and Councilman Todd Lambert, I'd like to remind all councilmen that we have our March of Dimes walk this Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. And also the hazardous waste. So. Councilman Kluart.
Yeah, just one short thing. We just had an update on Councilman Oliver Joseph not being here. It seems that he's at the hospital with his mother-in-law, and I apologize that I don't know her name, but I'd like for everybody to keep her in their prayers tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Lambert.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion adjourned by Councilman Lambert. Second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Second. Yeah.